Hey there, everybody. I just got home from work for a little bit ago, and I was really hoping to tell my spooky Halloween story before the night ends. Now, it's almost midnight, so I'm running out of time, so I better hustle up, huh? Anywho, this is just more of the story I've already been telling you, but this is where I'm wondering if maybe my great-grandmother has placed a curse on me. Right? Now, when I was in middle school and in high school, I used to have to go meet my father where he worked at the convalescent center down there in the Florida Keys. And there used to be this old lady in a straitjacket, and they would have her in her wheelchair strapped to the wall down by the nurse's station. And anytime I'd see her, she'd be sitting there yelling the whole time. She was like, "Billy! Help me! Billy! Get me out of here! Billy!" Right? Well, my great-grandmother came down from Michigan a couple different times and ended up staying at that nursing home. Thing is, I can't remember quite which time it was. I just knew that, me and my parents went in her room to see her, and up the hall was that lady just screaming away. And it seems like this has been so many years, and it's always the same. That's why I think it's kind of, I kind of thought it was kind of annoying, hearing her screaming and stuff. It was just kind of, I was aware that it had been going on for so many years, and I actually find it quite distressing, to be honest. Not so much annoying, but distressing. Hearing somebody scream like that should be distressing. That's just how our nervous system works. Anyways, I was saying something to complain a little bit. I wasn't really putting it down. I wasn't making fun of it. Okay, I wasn't laughing at her. But my grandma thought she would set me straight by saying, "Hey, don't laugh. You could end up just like that too someday, And so of course I had to imagine myself, "Billy!" Ah! Now, the thing is if you say a magic spell or a curse, the way that works is it doesn't always happen sometime after you do it. Sometimes it takes effect before you do it, before you say the curse, right? And that's why the interesting thing about her yelling Billy all the time is it would always remind me of my friend Billy that I was seeing in the visionary state. But at the time I didn't realize it. I always thought he was a real person at that time. But yeah, it would make me think of Billy. And so there were other reminders too, kind of like my sister and my dad bringing it up to me like, "Hey Jody, what happened to Billy? Where's your little boyfriend?" And I remember those two going, "Jody has a boyfriend, nee, 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 nee." So something where like, I thought my family knew who Billy was and stuff like that, but I never talked about him anymore because now I felt embarrassed. So, yeah, another time my dad said, "Hey Jody, do you remember Billy? Well, he came to me the other day." And I remember thinking, he came to him? He's like, "Yeah, where's your little friend Billy?" So that's something I think, happened shortly before he actually wrote to the guy with the record company that signed him and stuff. So anyways, it seemed like I was kind of getting these little reminders, like the way my dad used to tease me, or I don't know, he just has like weird little jokes, like, "Come along, Bill," he would say. He'd say, "Come along, Bill," and he would say, "Buckshot Billy Bumstead." And another thing he would say is, "Really, Bob Billy." And so that's kind of a funny one because it ties in with some of my stories later where we thought, or I thought maybe when Bill Leap goes incognito, he goes by Bob, so we'll get into that later. Anyways, I don't think anybody really calls Bill Billy except for me. And that's where I'm thinking, okay, that might be where that ties in. My great-grandmother said a curse that I'm going to end up screaming Billy someday. Well, so who knows? I mean, but the thing is later on in my story, it turns into a real nightmare as we get closer to 2000. So if you've seen some of my other videos, I did the timeline for my visions, and talked about that. So when it gets 99 into 2000, I have like a really interesting little time trip, and that's where I start waking up to all the stuff that's going on, and I started remembering, you know, some of the stuff I'm being told. So this is where you gotta wonder if I'm psycho, okay? Because I'm thinking there's stuff going on that's not going on, and at the same time, maybe people somewhere this information's being fed to me, making me think, you know, that Bill Lieb has always known who I am, and he wanted to marry me. So I was kind of happy at first, thinking, all right, you know, so this is Billy, and he wants to marry me. But then I started getting really scared because I didn't really have any way to contact him, and he wasn't coming to find me or anything. And I started thinking, you know, that he could be stalking me too. You know, I saw somebody lurking around that looked like he could be Bill, and all this information adding up. And anyway, so this is where I was having what you call a crazy making experience. Okay, so that time I was living at the Acacia building in Denver. Now that building is on the haunted house every year around Halloween. In fact, that very year that all this was coming together, I could hear them outside doing the tour. Well, from what I understand, that building has secret tunnels from the Capitol building of Denver, you know, so the wealthy elite like to come into that building and see their mistresses that they were keeping there. So a lot of these guys were wealthy, rich men keeping their mistresses there, and making big promises. So these women were hoping to get married, and when they got dumped, some of them would commit suicide. And if you watched enough horror movies, you would know that when atrocities happen at a building, then a lot of spooky shit happens as well. So it's the funny thing, is it turns out that Bill Lieb is sort of a wealthy married man who would like to have a mistress. So it's kind of funny when you think about that parallel. See, I didn't know Bill was married and all that stuff, but with now in hindsight, I realized I was hoping for a wealthy married man to come and give me a future, you know. And when that wasn't happening, I was really heartbroken, and that it was all just a delusion, you know. So anyways, that's my spooky Halloween story about a big spooky dragon breath, which is what I like to say about Bill. If you haven't heard his music, he sings like, oh, so have a happy Halloween. And have a great night, and I will share more spooky stories after this. Bye-bye, everybody.